We conducted our second campaign interview with Julia Gillard last week. Tonight it's Tony Abbott's turn for his second, with a final interview from each in the shadows of the post next week. I recorded this one with Mr Abbott in Sydney just a short time ago. Tony Abbott, I'll start with broadband, since you did finally release your broadband policy today. You've promised a patchwork of different technologies to deliver a fraction of the high-speed internet access that would be delivered under the government's national broadband network. Your plan, according to at least one expert that I'm happy to quote and identify, would return Australia to a broadband backwater. Your comment?
Well, I just say that you can't trust the government that couldn't deliver school halls and couldn't get pink bats into roofs to deliver this highly sophisticated national network. Now,
but you're also acknowledging on the way through that you couldn't either because you're abandoning it.
Well, what we think that competition is better than monopoly, and we think that a range of technologies is better than putting all your eggs in the fibre basket.
OK, you've committed $1 billion for a metropolitan wireless network in place of Labor's commitment to build fibre, delivering high-speed broadband to every metropolitan home. How many hundreds or thousands of towers would you have to build? How many thousands of kilometres of fibre would you have to lay to connect them all? And what spectrum would you use to deliver the wireless network?
Kerry, look, just as the Prime Minister says, I say as well that I'm no Bill Gates here, and I don't claim to be any kind of a tech head in all of this, but we are going to have broadband running past, we say, 97% of households, and yes, we're not guaranteeing 100 megabits, but we are guaranteeing upwards to 100 megabits, and as I said, we just don't believe that recreating a government-owned telecommunications monopoly is the way to go. We think that competition and diversity of technology is the way to go.
But you wouldn't be delivering them to the homes, would you? You wouldn't be running them past 97% of homes. You'd be running them to exchanges.
Yeah. There's a backbone that we want.
Yeah.
We want to see a competition with these backbones, and then, of course, there'll be connections up to homes.
Professor Rod Tucker from Melbourne University, with a string of qualifications in this field as long as your arm. Very impressive, I might say, including the Australia Prize for his contributions to telecommunications, had this to say today, quote, "The idea that we could use very fast broadband based on mobile technologies and existing fibre, which is what you would do, defies the laws of physics."
Well, I accept, Kerry, that not everyone is going to like our system, but I just don't believe that you can trust this government to roll out a $43 billion bit of infrastructure.
But does that preclude you if the plan itself is good?
Well, as I said, I think we can do something that will be good for a lot less price. Our system will give Australians national broadband, but it won't be nationalised broadband, and it won't depend on just one fibre technology.
And it won't be anywhere near as fast or as efficient. Well, Professor Tucker also says this, quote, "Building a broadband network will, as the government has pointed out," this is the broadband network that they've presented, "have the same kind of transformational impact as the railways in the 19th and 20th centuries, but doubters and naysayers seem intent on living in the past." He also says, quote, "Broadband technologies are poised to transform society in ways we don't yet fully understand." So when you attack Labor for investing so much in this transformative technology that countries like Japan already have, how did you calculate what Australia would lose if you scrap the network?
The thing is, all of what you've just said, Kerry, depends upon this government getting it right. Now, this government hasn't got anything else right. Why do we say that they'll get this right? And this isn't just $2.5 billion in home insulation. This isn't even just the $16 billion in school halls. This is $43 billion that they're putting at stake here.
Your communication spokesman, Tony Smith, made plain at the press club today that he would only guarantee a peak speed. You talk about speeds of up to 100 megabits per second. He would only guarantee a peak speed of 12 megabits per second under your plan. Do you know what peak speed is?
Again, if you're going to get me into a technical argument, I'm going to lose it, Kerry, because I'm not a tech head, but we are offering 12 and up, and we think in
But you're
the vast...
guaranteeing 12.
That's right, but in the vast majority of cases, it will be a lot more than that, a lot faster than that.
Well, are you sure about the... Can you really give that guarantee when you don't seem to know what peak speed is? I'll tell you what it is. It's quite an easy concept to understand. Peak speed is the best speed at which you can download material, usually when people are least likely to be using the internet, like at midnight. At other times, when there is congestion on the net, the speed will be much lower than that. So how can you say, as a matter of course, that the speeds your system will deliver will actually, more often than not, be much more than 12?
Well, Kerry, I take your point that if you want to drag me into a technical discussion here, I'm not going to be very successful at it because
but do you agree that that's not terribly technical to understand? Peak speed is the speed when the fewest people are using the net, which is in the dead of night, to borrow one of your expressions.
OK, but what I'm saying is that our system is going to cost vastly less, but it will be there quicker than Labor's system, and it doesn't put all Australia's eggs in the basket of one particular technology.
When you say it'll be there quicker than Labor's system?
2016.
Labor's already rolling its out now, so it's started already.
But it's not a national system, and it won't be a national system until after 2016.
But because you're not a tech head, you can't explain your policy to us and how you will use towers, how much fibre you would need, and what spectrum you would use when we're told there is none to actually deliver your wireless technology.
And what they're going to use, as I understand it, is to string cable on telegraph poles, which is hardly the most marvellously sophisticated thing to be doing in this day and age either. Look, Kerry...
It's fibre that where the signals will travel at the speed of light.
And Kerry, my communications spokesman addressed the National Press Club. There was an extremely long press conference with him and the Shadow Minister for Finance, and they went through all of this in great detail. And look, I do not have the same level of technical competence in this area that they have.
Don't you have to apply technical competence, as you call it, to things like budgets and the economy, technology? I mean, technology is right at the centre of our future, isn't it?
And the point I keep making, Kerry, is that the government says it's going to roll out a $43 billion national broadband network, but if you can't put bats in roofs without causing house fires, if you can't build school halls without rip-off after rip-off, why would you be confident that they could do this?
Well, let's talk about school halls.